Welcome to another episode of Ask Mark Anything. Today, I'm actually recording this episode from Monterey, California. I'm staying at the Monterey Plaza Hotel, which is an amazing, gorgeous hotel. A lot of fun to stay at. You've got a chop house next door. It's right on Cannery Row. So you're literally just a few blocks away from the aquarium and restaurants, shopping, great location, lots of good food. And Monterey is really one of my favorite places to visit. It's very relaxing. Hearing the wildlife, the seagulls, the seals, it's really a great experience. And the town is fun. There's a lot of cool little bars that you can go to, lots of great little restaurants. So I highly recommend making a trip out here. So I'm here for a 3-day conference, and it is 6:24 p.m. on a Sunday night. I've got an appointment here in about 30 minutes, but I wanted to do an Ask Mark Anything episode real quick. And so Sam has put together 3 questions that he's gathered from some of the listeners. And so I wanted to go ahead, answer them, and let's get right into it. So question number 1 is, what is the most frustrating thing a property manager has to deal with? Well, I can tell you right now, it's really handling the expectations of both the property owner and the tenants. And as a manager, really, you're managing expectations. For example, if a tenant reports a maintenance item that comes up, to them, it's going to be extremely urgent. To the landlord, however, what's going to be more of a priority will be to get that work done at a lower cost. This can sometimes require multiple proposals depending on what my authorization is set or agreed upon in our management agreement between my company and the property owner. So handling a work order to get a reasonable price for the owner can sometimes be pretty easy, but sometimes can be difficult it can be a little bit difficult depending on various prices that come in, or if some vendors are not responding or urgently acting upon the work orders. So it's really communicating with the tenant, communicating with the owner, making sure we have approvals. To the owners, they want the cheapest price. They want the repairs done. Tenants want the repairs done. They want it done as soon as possible. Sometimes there's delays with vendors, work orders. If a part has to be ordered, that has to be ordered, shipped, delivered, schedule set up. And then on top of that, we cannot just simply go into a unit and do repairs. We have to provide either proper notice or make an appointment with the actual tenant. So there's a lot that goes into coordinating maintenance repairs, and really handling those expectations can be pretty frustrating as a property manager, but at the same time, it comes with the territory. So it is our job. It is what we do. So I would say that's probably the most frustrating thing. But again, we build a business around it, and we're able to find what our mistakes are and then improve upon them the very next time. But another very frustrating issue to deal with are tenants who don't communicate that they're going to be late on rent. The one thing I tell tenants all the time is, if you're going to be late on rent, make sure to communicate that with the property manager or with the property owner, whoever your landlord is. Because from a landlord and property manager perspective, there are rules, guidelines, there's a contract, and certain protocols that need to be followed. And if you're late on rent, you're getting charged a late fee, or you're getting a notice, a 3-day notice to pay rent. And if you don't pay rent by that expiration, the landlord or the property manager now has the right to send your file off to an eviction attorney who's going to take over at that point. And then it's going to be way more costly to stay at your unit if you wanted to negotiate something to stay. Many times that can be avoided by simply communicating. Communicate to the landlord or the property manager as to why you're going to be late with rent. Maybe you can work something out to where you pay a portion of it now, a portion of it later. But the key to it all is really communication. There has to be communication between all parties, and that's what really makes a big key difference. So if you're dealing with a possibility of not being able to pay rent, reach out to the landlord and talk to them. Question number 2, what does your daily schedule often look like? So my schedule pretty much varies every single day, but let me try to give you a basic rundown of what my day looks like. So my day usually starts with me waking up around 7:30 in the morning. Around 8 o'clock, I'm checking emails and voicemails, drinking coffee, and having breakfast. And just a little fun fact about me, I drink probably a half of a pot of coffee every single morning when I'm checking emails. But as I'm checking emails and voicemails, I begin to start organizing my emails for the day and prioritizing what's urgent and what needs to be delayed to later on in the day. I create notes for follow-ups with my teams. If I need to check in with my accountant, my maintenance coordinator, my operation manager, whatever needs to be done gets organized and prioritized. Then usually by 9 a.m., I'm responding to emails and calling people back. My first appointments usually start around 11 a.m. and I'm typically in and out of the office from 11 a.m. to about 7 p.m. And I've got appointments running the company. It could be building inspections, whatever the case is. And then usually by 7 p.m., I'm back at home, but just because I'm at home doesn't mean I'm not working. I'm at home catching up on more emails or paperwork that I couldn't get to during the day, and I'm usually working until midnight. So I typically work 16-hour days consistently, and I've been doing that for many, many years now. So maybe to give you a sample of what like a possible day could be, let me give you this sample, and I'm just going to read this off of my actual Google Calendar. So I started off the day, same thing, waking up 7:30 in the morning, had coffee, breakfast, checking my emails, voicemails, prioritizing, basically organizing my entire day. But I did have an appointment at 10 a.m. this specific day. I actually serve on a committee for our local board of realtors, our local association. So I had a 10 a.m. committee meeting. So I went to Walnut Creek and attended that meeting. By 11:30, I was back in Pinole from Walnut Creek. I had a new client meeting. 12:30 to about 1:15, I was at the office just doing work. From 1:15 to 2 p.m., I was doing a podcast recording, had a guest come in, and we knocked out an episode. Between 2 and 3, I was in a meeting with our insurance agent. From 3 to 4 p.m. was just more work at the office, managing the company, managing employees, paperwork, whatever I got to do there. And then between 4 and 6, I was showing a client homes for sale. Now, I typically don't focus on home sales, but for close clients or friends, I still do. And then 6:30, I had a tenant move out inspection. And then 7 p.m., I went to post some notices on a building, and back home by 8 p.m. Between 8 p.m. and midnight, I caught up on emails and paperwork. So that was all just one day for me, and that's pretty typical. So again, I work 16-hour days, and that's typically what my day looks like. Question number 3. Who are your top 3 movie villains? So top 3 movie villains. I have to say, hands down, Darth Vader's number 1. Number 2 is Darth Maul. And you're probably wondering why there's 2 Star Wars characters. And if you don't know me that well already, I'll just tell you right now, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've got an amazing Star Wars leg sleeve tattoo done by Nate Rodoni at True Ambition Artwork. If you go to my Instagram page, you can see some of the photos I have of my leg work there, but he's done an amazing job in capturing basically portraits of Sith Lords. And so I'm a huge fan of Sith Lords, and so this question is perfect. So Darth Vader, number one, hands down, movie villain. Darth Maul, number two, and I'm really excited with the comeback of Darth Maul in the new Solo movie, because Darth Maul has been a character loved by so many people, yet he was just in a very small part of Phantom Menace in episode 1. And then he made a comeback in the Clone Wars and the Rebels animated series that Disney put out. So to see him come back in an official role in person in the Solo movie, it's going to be very interesting to see if he gets his own movie or if his storyline develops with the new episode, maybe not episode 9, because that's well after his time, but with the new Boba Fett movie that they're planning. So that's going to be very fun to watch. Or if they do another movie on Kira, who recently I've been looking at theories where Kira might be Rey's mom. So very cool stuff. Obviously, you can tell I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So I think those two are the top two villains. But the question is, who are your top 3 villains? So I have to say number 3 has to be Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards. This is a role by Christoph Waltz, who did an amazing role. This movie, Inglourious Bastards, is one of my favorite old-time movies. Brad Pitt does a great job in that, in his role there, and very fun movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. But Hans Landa, I think, is such a badass villain in that movie. And now I'm getting the urge to go watch Star Wars or Inglourious Bastards. So that is another episode of Ask Mark Anything. I do want to thank you for submitting questions. I want to thank people that are listening to the podcast. I am very humbled that anyone takes the time out of their day to listen to the podcast or watch it on Facebook and YouTube. So again, thank you. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, please do so on iTunes or iHeartRadio or Spotify. And you can also catch the video cast on Facebook and YouTube. And as a reminder, we do Facebook Live. So sometimes during the week when we go live, there's a little notification that comes up on Facebook. Click on it, watch us live, and hope you enjoy. Make sure to check out our sponsors. We have a few sponsors. We have the Bar Athletics. We have Bonica Commercial Real Estate. We have East Brother Beer Company, and we have Lenny Clark with Prime Lending. So please go check out our sponsors, support them. And again, thank you for listening to the Mark Guzman Experience.